possibly handling. They were probably only thinking about one variable, and they were thinking, I wouldn't be comfortable handling this animal per se, or having someone else. Did they actually submit numbers and address all variables, or were they just saying, I think this should be a tier 1 because it might be difficult to handle? Since they did submit numbers, I'm just worried that they weren't thinking about it.
But, we have, FWC biologists and things who aren't necessarily just looking at handling, but we have to consider public safety issues. Orlando Cobra got out and was in a neighbor's garage. Thankfully, it was caught, no issues, but that's a concern that we have to address. We, as an agency, we don't just represent the industry. We have to represent the entire state.
I understand,
So,
but you can't let uneducated people write policy.
No,
just because there may be a fear.
But that's why they brought it back for you guys to discuss.
I don't have an opinion on where these need to be listed because I've never handled them. I'm just letting you know, we see these concerns. We have concerns from all angles. We have very passionate people who live next door to the guy whose Cobra escaped and have concerns. So we have to address those. So we're opening the floor to you guys if you feel that adjusting these variable, the actual values that were assigned, then if you feel it's appropriate to adjust them, adjust them. If you feel that we should cut it differently, let's hear your feedback.
All right,
I
Sean.
don't think my question was
Oh,
answered. So
okay,
did
good.
they actually submit numbers to outside experts?
No.
She did say no.
She did, okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, most of the feedback we got was just, hey, this is tier 2, should we look at readdressing that? I have concerns about it, but not.
And that's why they brought it back to you
They didn't hear
guys.
the discussion about the variables. It's kind of hard from an outside person who didn't sit here and listen to you guys
Right.
making this system to be able to establish values.
Okay, so Sean, hold on. Sean first, and
And
then Paul.
that would be my biggest rebuttal to those outside individuals was, one, did they bother to take the time and actually digest this matrix and see how things were weighted and the whole variables and that? And the answer is, we don't know.
They can't, they weren't here.
Right, well, no, you could give me this, and even if I didn't do it, I can read, and I can look at, the weighting, it's formulary, that's why I did all that.
Mhm.
Right, so, and without that, we don't know really what their input is. It's, I sent this to several people overseas that have a ton of experience, one of which was in the zoo world in Europe, huge respected figure, and he sent it back and he said, yeah, that looks good. He said, good luck with Ophiophagus because of the reputation of it.
We had a whole discussion about that on the
Right.
first or second day
Right,
last
and
time.
and so this has also been vetted outside by people who have insane amount of experience, hands-on and in the field, besides us as well. So we, some of us went the other way on that as well. And so the point is that these variables, as we do this, we can't just tease out. You mentioned the safety factor, and we get that, and we want that as well. Look, we don't want to keep getting black eyes because people in our industry are, not necessarily loud, but, without these, secondary confinement and bolstered caging, these animals get out, and then everybody's like, oh, these venomous people, we don't like that either, trust us. But, that's why these specific variables were put into place as a package deal, coupled with containment, which is, it's a package deal, and that's what we just want to make sure.
Okay, I think that's been noted.
Yeah.
Phil, Paul, golly, you guys need to separate. Go ahead, Paul.
Sure, put 'em
Paul.
They both got blue shirts.
That's right.
Now I will call you by the right name.
I think Tony made a recommendation, and we didn't get an answer from that recommendation about a vote.
Oh, sure.
And the other thing is, let's
So
look
let's
at
start the recommendation over again. Can we vote on
whether we
what?
should move these.
These three?
Yes, and
Okay.
the one reason, it may not even need a vote for this, all right, the concern with FISH is potential for establishment. Your screen's going off there, you might want to.
Oh, thank you.
And that's one of the things that was looked at, probability of establishment. And it looks like, it's kind of hard to tell with the Excel sheet, it looks like it got a 2. So even if you move that down to 1, which was the highest, right? Probability is a 1.
Escapability, you said?
No, the probability of establishment,
It's 2.
because that's the
Establishment.
concern. Even if
Okay.
you move that down to a 1, that's still within tier 2 on what we recommended. So even if we think it has a high probability of establishment, because of the other variables that they were doing.
And that's a good point Eugene made up, and it goes back to what I said before, is these, I would put them kind of 3. If you were like, your life depends on that, I'm like, okay, I'm going 3. But this was a number that was bolstered,
Yes.
you know, and, you know, these are absolutely a lethargic animal that don't really
Absolutely.
do all that much. But it could be argued some of the species are a little bulkier, they're a little stronger. If you have an inferior cage, which we're gonna get rid of, right? Then it's not an issue, you know, so even with that bolstered number, they just don't, you know, rank high enough to go up.
All right,
So let's get Ralph's.
you didn't get the finishers?
No, I'm trying to,
Well, can we go ahead and vote? Paul for keeping fittest in tier 2?
All right, major, I'm
is
assuming.
that,
Before you all have a misconception about what your vote means. Remember, technical assistance team.
So there's no point to that.
No,
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I don't think that's what he's saying. What he's saying
Yeah,
is,
that's not what I'm saying.
you guys are, with some agreement among
Gene,
the
if you
group.
want to take that position, then feel free.
Major,
No,
I
I
think
don't want
that,
to take it. I don't.
But I just want you to make sure that everybody understands the role of the tag is to provide us assistance and rulemaking. As I said before, I will be completely transparent at the presentation about the comments, the pros, the cons, y'all's feelings, that they were adamant about this, but at the end of the day, if a commissioner wants to move a king cobra up to a 1, okay, it can I just want to frame
That's
that
fine.
so there's a
Okay.
realistic expectation of what your vote's
All
gonna
right,
mean.
hold on. I think the group understands that, but just for clarity's sake, instead of me going, you know, is everybody comfortable, I think there was a sort of.
I just want you to know what the concurrence is across the tag
That's-
regarding this species. I
That's, I think,
understand
that's what I understand.
that it can change later. but we just
and
want you
the
to
only
know.
reason I asked that is because you brought it up and then
It never came back up, yeah,
it just,
died.
yeah, and I'm, not that I'm the expert on this particular.
Sure.
And look, this works for us because you know, that's a two-way street as well. Is we're in a situation where we're the mouthpieces for our constituents or colleagues or whatever it happens to be. And if this thing goes south, we want it to be known that this is what we recommended, right? And it got changed. So we're with you. It
And
goes
that's
both
fair
ways,
enough.
right? If we get thrown under the bus, you know, we reciprocated, you know, and just by saying, look, this is not what we presented, this is what we presented, this is the vote, this is the understanding, so.
So just to bring this all back together as a cohesive group, I think we're all right where you want to be.
Yeah.
So let's move forward and let's go through.
I mean, I'll save all the angst of the vote. I'm fine with what the tag presented. And like I said before, originally, after your homework,
Right.
I'm fine with taking that for the sake of moving forward. And, you know, but, you know, just be aware that, you know, it's not in stone, okay? And I will express y'all's position that it is right, and it needs to be where it is. And because before we started this afternoon session, I said that we passed it around, and it really, we weren't that far off. I mean, basically, if you look at your end product of the homework, and that classification sheet that you all did 2 years ago? 2 years ago, other than a snake here and there, y'all were right in line with our investigators. But they, just from seeing and doing inspections, and some of them that have snakes of their own, were in. So we're not that far off.
They did change that. Okay, so I've got Kristen and then you for a second.
Just real quick, I know that there were some questions about whether or not people set back scores, and a lot of those emails got sent directly to me. They weren't, but they were just, the couple of comments that I got had more to do with the scores that a lot of the ecologists were looking at had to do with the risk of establishment. They weren't looking across the board because they know they're not out there handling the snakes. So they weren't trying to question the result. They weren't talking about tiers necessarily. They were talking about the scores on establishment, and that's what they were concerned about, that those were a little too, those were not appropriate for where they felt, like what their expertise was with invasive species.
Right,
That's where
so-
they were coming from, not
Right,
like,
so they weren't coming from the other 5 variables.
no, but that was the only score they were really commenting on, was
Right,
that.
and that's, and we
And the-
can understand that, but that's taken out of context.
But that was really the only thing they were commenting on.
Right.
So
And that's
I
what
don't
we
want,
wanna
I don't
know.
want
That's
it to
what
be
we wanna
framed
know.
out like we
Yeah.
need to throw away the baby with the
Right.
bathwater for other people's expertise.
No, that's what we want to know.
So what was your comment? We've got one more?
Yeah, so, you know, appreciate that moving forward, but we got one more left to do, Reptiles. And just, we might as well go through it so you guys can know the reasoning. So that Tony says, well, why didn't this get moved up, even though you're outside expert? So, yeah, take 3 minutes to do this.
Right, I'm good with it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so, I mean, Reptiles.
You want to start? and then-
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, I just gotta say, as far as Crotalis goes, you know, working with Eastern Diamondbacks and snakes in general, doing any sort of repatriation projects is exceedingly difficult. Eastern indigos here in Florida, I mean, and elsewhere have been trying to be repatriated in various areas, and even with soft release pens, a lot of them have had a lot of difficulty, and within Crotalis, I mean, there are several species, including timbers and everything else, that have been tried to be translocated, where they've had, you know, 90% plus mortality rate during the translocation because they just do not survive. And I don't think that the ability of them to establish here, I don't agree with those individuals who say that maybe, there may be one within that somewhere that may have the chance, but I'd say overall Crotalis as a genus does not have the potential to establish.
And we're
Other
talking
than
about
natives.
non-native
Non-native.
Florida snakes.
But even within natives, translocating Eastern Diamondback from one location to another, a lot of times they die. They don't make it, even in soft release enclosures. They stop eating, they stop drinking, you know, their behavior completely changes.
Okay,
And then you take a captive one at that and put it into a wild environment. That's a totally different ballgame.
Could be a lot of conditions.
Mhm.
okay, fair enough. Is there anybody else who wants to make a comment about?
Well, if we're looking at Reptiles specifically, there's a wide range of, within that, there's a lot of species within it. You know, I mean, and, yeah, and they, so that is absolutely a major generalization there. Probably one of the biggest on this whole screen.
I think that's why we went middle ground at tier 2.
Yeah,
Because there were
because-
some that were higher and some that were lower, and that was kind of median.
Right, and, you know, but when you go through and you look at this, they still, none of them rank, you know, to where they shoot to the top.
So let's just for argument's sake, or, well, let's argue. Let's just think you took Florida native Crotalis, and they're in tier 2.
Well, that's teased out, but yeah.
It is teased out, and all the rattlesnakes are still in tier 2, whether it's native or non-native, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've got one of the large, you know, Eastern Diamondback, not only the largest, the venom load, their yield is impressive. I mean, this individual can talk about it, you know, and they are probably one of the worst of the worst.
And they're in our backyard.
And they are everywhere, you know, in the state of Florida. So when you take that as your base, where do you go from there?
Okay,
You know what I mean?
sure. All right, well, where do we go from here?
Leave it in tier 2.
Leave it in tier 2. That's what.
I think your initial recommendation was to put native Crotalis in tier 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was.
Because of availability of antivenin at, you know, almost every hospital in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's how it keeps out. We made an exclusion on it, right? It ended up higher, but we said we should exclude it and put it in tier 3 because.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's native and for all the reasons.
Right.
Now,
But it still says Crotalis in tier 2. Is this on here? Is that the old one?
That's one of these words.
Okay.
yeah, so there's.
Yeah, so we don't have native Crotalis separated in this one.
Yeah, not anymore, no.
It was prior in the one that was submitted.
It wasn't tier 3. We did it specifically because FWC looks at animals that are
Yes.
not native.
Mhm.
So a lot of Crotalis, you know, the western diamondback, Reptile, and all that, being not native, that's why we had them separated. However, since they all
take the same antivenin, they're all reptiles, let's put them all together, instead of trying to separate them. And so, that was the main factor, because it's gonna, if you start splitting hairs, you know, this mom in this tier, this rattlesnake in that tier, all the reptiles.
Well, be that as it may, I do believe that it should still be in tier 2, if we are going to have all reptiles.
And, I'm with you.
And I would say the same sort of thing with their option yellow.
So if they're not separated?
Okay,
one
so,
is still in-
so what I'm hearing is native and non-native crotalis is separated, but they're both still in tier 2. That's how it's represented up here.
And I would make a recommendation that we take Botrop, Xeroca, Xeroca, Botrop, Xerocasu, Insularis, and just take those 3 off the list, because you have Botrops spade, and they all fall under that.
Right, so,
And I had separated them out the last time and put them in tier 1.
yeah, so the version that you guys have in the actual rule language, they're grouped together for simplicity.
Yeah.
But they're separated still in the spreadsheet.
I would
because
say
that's
the
what's
only
provided.
person in this room that's ever messed with an Insularis is probably me. So I don't know where they're going to shit here.
So, is that a suggestion then to remove, them and just keep the species,
Yeah, there's no,
Just keep the genus.
just keep
just keep the genus?
Yep.
All right, so tell me where I'm going?
It's presented that way in the rule.
It's presented that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
on the rule, it has all
In
both
the rule,
drops.
they're grouped by genus. This
Okay.
is just the way that they
This is
classify
what we've
them.
been- You have his point captured somewhere? Okay.
They're already grouped out in the language.
And then, I don't know how this got through, but in one sense, you have, in tier 2, we have like Ophryagus, Mexican pit vipers, and then in tier 1, we have Ophryagus, and they're basically the same thing, and Porthidium's the same thing, so in all honesty, Ophryagus and Porthidium probably should be all in tier 1, in my opinion. What do other people think?
Yeah, we talked about that.
It's never got transferred.
These are the ones that do this.
Yeah. So Ophryagus, Porthidium, and Voidius, those 3 probably should be in tier 1.
Okay, Ophryagus,
Mexican pit viper
should be what here?
Tier 1.
and hognose pit viper?
They're all small, they're pretty innocuous, the venom's not outrageous.
You mean
No, no,
tier 1 or
three.
tier 3?
Tier 3.
But the other one.
Scared me there for a second.
And the reason you want to, these here are represented genus-wise down here.
Their sister group is down there, but you just copied the same thing, go hit Control D. So
Ophryagus,
Ophryagus,
got it.
Porthidium,
Got it.
Voidius.
Lydius?
Yep.
Just those 3?
Those 3, in my opinion.
Any issues with that? Comments, questions, concerns?
So, I
Thoughts?
mean, I'm having a hard time reading like that far, but on my sheet, if the other ones about the same score are staying in that tier, why would we move those? I'm just trying to understand the
He's
logic.
looking from a phylogeny standpoint.
He's looking at it from a phylogeny standpoint, but the score is in the same range as other ones that you're leaving in tier 2. So earlier we were arguing that, well, because these scores, we should leave them where those other species are, but now you're saying, well, dump the scores, forget about that, let's move them down to tier 3. So
Kristen, I would bet you that there's nobody in this group that's ever worked with some of the, like Ophryagus, that genus. I mean, they're so rare out there, I mean, there's hardly any. I mean, Darren, I've seen 2 in captivity in my career. Yeah.
So I wasn't trying to be argumentative, I'm
No,
just trying
no,
to understand the logic. Like, what if somebody new comes in and says, all right, who doesn't usually use these Mexican pit vipers, is coming in, so I'm trying to think of from, not somebody like yourself that has that experience. Would we be concerned about their experience for something that you guys have scored as something that should be a tier 2? What would be the logic of moving it to tier 3? And not because of your expertise, but somebody else, I guess, is the way
So I would go through and rescore those personally. Like Porthidium, I would want somebody to learn on Porthidium.
Like,
The
we,
zootum is this big.
We-
You know.
I'll tell you, Jack and I, when she was here, Jack and I had this conversation. after the last one, when we were poring over this and doing this and scoring this, and we went back and forth, and you were in on that. And we kind of, and you know, in all honesty, there were more important species, and we kind of ditched off on them and threw our hands up, and we're like, yeah, nobody has them, nobody keeps them, and we moved on to more important species, and then they just got left.
Because this all had to really be synthesized in one night with a
It was
little
pretty
bit
fast.
of.
And I understand
Yeah,
that.
so that's the, all of that's honest fact, is we were like, nobody keeps these, nobody works these, nobody, we had more important ones they hit, and the three of us were trying to go back and forth on text and email, and two of us were on, I was on a plane, he was on a plane, and those three just kind of got left because they just really don't occur in captivity.
So is there a way that we could address like the scoring on it so that it matches up? Like, so what would be the reason?
Yeah, I
But I'm
just
thinking
rescored.
it from like a standpoint, like say we get a public information request from somebody and they're like, well, why those three? You guys didn't even follow the system. You know, I would rather be able to defend the scores.
Sure.
Working with you guys, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to be
You're
out of
100%. I just went through and rescored them based on my personal opinion. Not that that's guaranteed, but, you know, with Ophryagus, it was a 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, which scores a 15. Lloydius was 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, same thing. And Hognose was a 3, 3, 3, 2, 2. So, and that puts them down in the tier 1.
Tier 3.
3.
Okay, so just for clarity's sake, that you guys scored them high based on a handful of conversations or whatever, but they're in the same genus as others that are in tier, or no?
Sister tax.
Well, that,
Sister town.
They're like your brother.
I don't have any brothers or sisters. I ate them in the womb. So I mean, I see Chris's point though that, I mean,
he's
other.
suggesting changing the scores, though,
That's what I
Okay, that's a suggestion.
which would
Change the scores.
put them in that tier 3. So that way, if anybody asks a question, you have the data to back it up. Say, you know, Dr. Parkinson made recommendations to change these because of A, B, C, D. Right?
Okay, how about this? How about if we leave them where they are right now with the suggestion to change them, and then, well, with the new numbers, they'll move them. If when they see the, you know, these guys are gonna have to sort of absorb some of the stuff that we're talking about right now. So if you guys want to renumber them, everybody's agreed with the new number system, then that's what they would adopt if they can. We'll have to sift through it.
So what are the new values you would assign to?
So let's do the new values right now. Let's everybody agree on these values across the top on these two.
Good.
You should be able to change the settings on there.
I may just get my
You can change the settings.
hold on. All right, everybody start thinking about those numbers. We're gonna change it and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, no, we're good with changing it. I mean, we agree. I mean, if
Well, what are the numbers? Let's do the numbers really quick.
Okay, so start with, are you guys starting with Perthidium? Or
You tell me what you want.
whatever you all want to do. We're here.
Let's start with Mexican
Do it.
pit vipers. Mexican pit vipers.
Ophryagus is the first up. Ophryagus.
Yep,
You ready?
yep.
2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3.
So you've added 2 points, which brings them down to 15.
Yes, sir.
Is there consensus?
Is there consensus among the tag with that? I hear no objections, so. Anybody in the back of the room? Seem okay? All right. Hog-nosed pit vipers.
Orthidium. 3, 3, 2, 2, 2.67.
Okay, so you've added 3 points, which brings them up to 16.67, right?
15.
Yeah, it's not changing that.
15.67.
Yeah,
That's a formulary.
I'm
so-
just- I'm reading what's in the column.
Okay, so, and then does everybody on the tag agree to that? All right, so by changing these couple of numbers, we're moving these down, so now there's justification for that, okay? So that's it. I'm not gonna change it on the board right now, but we'll let the cat, sorry?
There's one more.
Oh, there's one more?
Yeah, one more.
Boidius.
Maximus?
Wow.
Sorry. Which one?
Right there. Next one down, right there.
Got it. Asian spitfire.
These are basically copperheads that are found in Asia. That's what
Okay.
they are. So 2, 3, 3, 3, 2.
Okay, so these, now they're up to 16.
15.33.
You're missing one. 2, 3, 3, 3, 2.
2,
And you're not changing the 2.33?
No, because that's a formulary that goes back.
So it's gonna be 15.32 field zone value.
Correct. 15. They're not
They're
changing
basically
theirs.
the same exact same thing as a copperhead.
Okay.
But they just have to live in.
Just one, this
No,
one.
we got it.
All right, everybody on the tag? Good?
Which would be,
I think we should get into the rule language.
What's
I think we're good, that's exactly where I'm
what?
at.
What's the name
15.33.
Hey, can I just hit save on this?
Yeah,
Okay,
I've got it too.
okay. Yep, let's do a bathroom break right now, and then we're gonna get into, the rules. We're doing, hey, look, guys, we're doing really good. Hey, girls, we're doing good.
140.